warm welcome back from the weekend, everyone. I am Melissa Enoch here at the FMDQ studios in Lagos.
I am Grace Agbaragu. It's the 15th of December. This is your Money Moves.
All right, let's tee off with your news now. This Monday, the National Bank of Ethiopia has issued new risk-based capital guidelines for banks effective November 10, 2025, aligning the sector with Basel II and III standards. All licensed banks, including subsidiaries and branches, must maintain a common equity Tier 1 ratio of at least 7%, Tier 1 capital of 9%, and total capital of 11% against credit, market, and operational risks. The directive requires bank boards to ensure compliance, submit quarterly reports to the National Bank, and hold adequate capital against current and future risks. Full compliance is expected by 31 December 2026, with penalties for violations, including fines and administrative actions. In Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Lottery Service has revoked the licenses of all sports betting companies operating in the country effective December 6, following government directives and a nationwide review of the sector. The authority said the review uncovered widespread illegal practices, breaches of licensing conditions, and illicit money transfers, posing national security risks. All betting activities have been ordered to cease immediately, with financial institutions directed to block related transactions and companies required to preserve all data and records. In South Africa, Energy Minister Kosiento Ramakopa today provided an update on the state of the country's electricity sector, highlighting current challenges, recent developments, and government measures to ensure reliable power supply and support economic growth. Let's hear excerpts.
For us to be able to achieve energy security, like I said, we need new players. We need to diversify the energy sources. We know that wind and solar are going to be a big part of the energy mix going into the country. We need to enable the onboarding of wind and solar. And for that to happen, we needed to introduce the rules on how third parties can come in and help government to shape how we are going to introduce these new players. We are not going to burden the national fiscus. You know that the fiscal matrix has deteriorated. We don't want to overburden the South African taxpayer, but we must also protect the interest of the state. So that's what the transmission regulations are doing. And then we also are introducing the grid capacity allocation framework so that those who are generating new additional electricity, the new players have got access to the grid. So it's not a monopoly that is owned by Eskom. Eskom can be a player in the referee. And in fact, what we have done as part of the unbundling exercise just the other day, we are introducing the transmission system operator, as is the requirement coming out of the amendment. The amendment says introduce the TSO that is independent, and that's what we have done. So what is the bigger point I'm making is that we have introduced a set of these reforms. So reforms are reforms. They are legislated. We introduce regulations. But what is important is to protect South Africa's energy security. Of course, all of these actions amount to, the constellation of all of these things will result in a framework that makes it possible for us to achieve energy security. What has been our experience over a period of time? I'm happy to stand before the country and make the bold point that we have introduced or added an additional 1,100 megawatts of new generation capacity coming from independent actors. So actors outside Eskom, they are participating in new generation. We want to accelerate their participation going into the future. Remember, the key is to keep the lights on. The key is to make sure that people go into jobs. The key is to ensure that over time we're able to suppress the exponential rise of electricity. Electricity must be affordable for all. So all of these actions are intended to do that. For us,
in Ghana, Carrefour Partenaria International has signed a franchise and supply partnership with Brands for All to roll out Carrefour in Ghana. The agreement will see Brands for All take over and transform the entire ShopRite Ghana network under the Carrefour brand, with the first stores expected to open by April 2026. The deal advances Carrefour's 2026 plan to enter 10 new countries through franchises. Nigeria is stepping up efforts to strengthen the national statistical system. The National Bureau of Statistics has officially launched the Power of Data Implementation Roadmap, the third national strategy for the development of statistics and the review of the SDGs today. These frameworks are designed to guide how data is produced, shared, and used to support evidence-based policymaking and national development. Let's listen.
With specific role and responsibility for operationalizing the Power of Data initiative in Nigeria, this roadmap document, launched today, is closely aligned in principle and in vision with the third national strategy for the development of services in Nigeria. The document identifies 7 strategic pillars through which activities and programs will be designed to achieve the objective of the power of data. These strategic pillars are as follows. The first one is leadership, governance, and coordination. The second one is partnership among all stakeholders. Data infrastructure and standard is another pillar. Sustainable financing and resource mobilization is the fourth pillar, while capacity building for data production and use is the fifth pillar. Data production, access, and use is another pillar, while the last one was monitoring, evaluation, and learning. On the other hand, leaving the Power of Data document, the National Strategy for the Development of Services, which is expected to run from 2024 to 2028, is also being launched today. It's the third and most recent installment of our effort as the coordinator of the National Statistical System in the country to modernize the system and position it to unlock data dividends for sustainable development in Nigeria.
In other news, South Africa's central bank is planning the biggest overhaul of the country's cash system in decades, including the creation of a cash management utility, white label ATMs, and tighter oversight to cut costs and improve access, especially for low-income and rural communities. Under the Cash Smart strategy, bank-owned ATMs would be consolidated into a shared network with near zero fees, while a new jointly owned cash utility would manage demand and distribution. The Reserve Bank said the reforms could reduce cash usage by up to 40% over time and take up to 3 years to roll out. Finally, on News Now, Saudi Arabia is laying the foundations to become a global logistics hub, focusing on infrastructure development, technology integration, and strategic partnerships to streamline trade and transportation across regions. Here are excerpts.
I mean, there's a lot of competition in the global aviation market. Now, aviation is booming as an industry at the moment, and KSIA intends to be at the forefront. Now, cargo is subtly different from passengers, but they are linked for reasons I'll explain. But I think that if you're looking to build a cargo and logistics hub, the first thing that the cargo community is looking for really is scale and connectivity. Now, you need a big operation to make it efficient, and the bigger it becomes, it kind of has a snowball effect, because then more and more vendors, more and more suppliers want to connect in with you. So then that brings us to the word connectivity. Now, you're looking for a connections to global markets, whether they be other cargo and logistics hubs, because they're mutually supportive. Whether you're looking for other particular markets and regions with goods that need to fly. Now, there's a big difference between rail freight and cargo and aviation. I mean, aviation cargo is not heavy. It's high value, just in time. It could be technology. I'm looking at Marco Meyer here, the CEO of KSAA. We work together on Quito Airport in Ecuador. Ecuador flies flowers and fruit around the world. That's kind of what air cargo is about. So you need to be able to connect into those markets. And once you've got that, that will then snowball from there, because you're creating more and more demand. And a lot of that cargo flies on passenger flights. Now, everyone thinks that cargo flies on cargo planes. A bit of it does, but most of it flies in the belly hold of passenger aircraft. So you need a strong passenger connectivity, which Riyadh Air will bring on top of what Saudi and others have. And quite often the cargo makes those routes financially viable. I mean, there's a lot of competition.
I am Melissa Enoch, and that's it on News Now. The show returns shortly with Grace Agbaragu at the FMDQ Archives Room, giving us our market updates. Stick around. Welcome back to Money Moves. Let's now go over to Grace for today's markets review. Hello there, Grace.
Thank you, Melissa. Let's take a look at how the markets open trading for the week, starting off with the equities. The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed flat at 147,437.88, while the BROVM inched up 0.05% to 347.98. The Nairobi Securities Exchange rose 0.20% to 178.02. In South Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange added 0.26%. And in North Africa, Egypt's EGX30 advanced 0.57%, while Morocco's MASI gained 0.16%. Let's do a quick round on some of the Pan-African currencies. The rand strengthened 0.62% to 16.78 against the US dollar. The Egyptian pound slipped 0.16% to 47.46, while the CFA franc eased 0.11%. The Kenyan shilling inched up 0.02% to 128.98. The Moroccan dirham declined 0.07%, while the naira gained 0.11% to 1,453 naira 22 kobo. Let's switch into the commodities data deck, beginning with energy prices. Brent crude dipped 0.13% to $61.04, while US WTI fell 0.21% to $57.32. Natural gas eased 0.85% to $4.07, and Arabian gasoline declined 0.21% to $1.74 as at 13:40 GMT. Now, finally, two metals prices. Gold added 1.08%, trading at $4,374.90. Copper rose 2.19% to $5.47, and platinum gained 2.51%. Aluminium slipped 1.02%, while iron ore fell 0.15% to $106.05 as at 13:42 GMT. And that's our Money Moves markets today. Back to you, Melissa.
Grace, thank you for those updates on how the markets closed today. And that's it on today's edition of Money Moves. From me and the rest of the team here at the FMDQ studios, we say thank you very much for watching and bye for now.